Canada's real estate industry does not want you to see this video because one of the 10 towns I am about to show you rents a one-bedroom apartment for $662 a month. That is not a typo. Meanwhile, the industry wants you looking at an $800,000 Toronto condo and calling that a retirement plan. But there is another version, where your pension check covers the month with money left over. One town here ran a prison camp that briefly held the man who went on to lead the Russian Revolution. One is a British Columbia town of 7,900 with a full trauma hospital and rent under half of Vancouver's. And one bought half its own housing stock on purpose to fill itself with retirees, where 2 in 5 residents are past 65. Every town here has a catch, from the emergency room queue to the snowbanks, and we say them all out loud. We're not selling a fantasy, we are telling the truth. If that sounds better than a mortgage that outlives you, hit subscribe. 10 Canadian towns the retirement industry hopes you never find. Number 10. Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. The Sault is one of only 2 towns on this list where a house got cheaper this year, which on a fixed income matters. The local real estate board put the March benchmark at $293,800, down 5.1%, and the average sale price at $318,934, down 7.9%. Same board, same month, both falling. In downtown Toronto, $300,000 is a parking space. In the Sault, it is a house on the St. Mary's River, across the water from Michigan. 72,000 people live here, and just under a quarter of them are past 65. Sault Area Hospital is in town, emergency open around the clock, full regional acute care, and its virtual emergency waiting room have time to a physician for eligible patients. The Sault Ste. Marie Canal opened in 1895 with the largest lock chamber in the world, and it is a National Historic Site, walkable from downtown. Here is what the brochures skip. Algoma Steel issued roughly 1,000 layoff notices in March, about a third of its local workforce, blamed on American steel tariffs. The public sector union CUPE Ontario reports the 90th percentile wait for an inpatient bed reached 51.8 hours, up from 24.9 4 years earlier. And over 3 meters of snow falls here a year, on a January averaging minus 9.8. Do the math on that before you fall in love with the price. Number 9. Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. Portage la Prairie should not work on paper. The population actually fell between the last 2 censuses, down to 13,270. The retirees living there are not leaving. It has the lowest actual sale price anywhere on this list, and unlike most towns here, that figure comes from sold data rather than asking prices. The last board release published for this southern Manitoba market put the average sale price at $226,764. 25 active listings this month averaged $281,000 asking. Those disagree by $55,000, so take the range, and know that even the top of it beats every town on this list but one. You will meet that one at number 1. A one-bedroom apartment in Portage rents at $928, and roughly 1 in 5 residents is past 65. The mill rate reads 3.283%, which sounds alarming until you know Manitoba taxes only 45% of assessed value. Portage District General Hospital is in town, emergency open 24 hours. A $455 million replacement is already built. Southern Health says it opens this fall. CBC reports it has slipped to next year. Both are on the record. Neither is open. 24 kilometers north is Delta Marsh, 308 square kilometers of protected wetland where 1 million snow geese once staged. January here is not a rumor. Know that going in. The daily mean is minus 14.8, the coldest town here, and the record low is minus 41.1. Number 8. Amherst, Nova Scotia. In April of 1917, a converted iron foundry in this town held Leon Trotsky for about 3 weeks. It was Canada's largest First World War internment camp, up to 854 men, and when Trotsky was released, the other internees gave him an enthusiastic send-off. He went straight on to lead the Russian Revolution. This is the town. Amherst sits on the Nova Scotia side of the New Brunswick border. 9,400 people, more than a quarter of them past 65. Now the number that matters. Nova Scotia's median single detached sale price hit a record $478,800 this spring. Amherst's median asking price is $327,000, down 11% in a year, roughly 35% under the provincial median. In a province setting records, this town is quietly not participating. Cumberland Regional Healthcare Center has a 24-hour emergency department and 78 acute beds. It is not downtown though. It sits in Upper Napan, just outside Amherst off Highway 104. January averages minus 7.65, mild for this list. Fair disclosure, the small hospitals around Cumberland County close constantly. Nova Scotia logged 28,171 hours of unplanned emergency closures in a single year. Amherst's own department did not close. Everything in the county funnels into it instead. Number 7. Summerside, Prince Edward Island. Summerside carries itself like a town that used to be rich. It was. This was the world headquarters of the silver fox fur boom. Breeding pairs sold for over $35,000 each at the peak, and the $1 Million Train of 1926 carried 855 live foxes out of town. The International Fox Museum is still open. 16,000 people on the island's western end, about a quarter of them past 65. Here is what it costs. A 2-bedroom rents at $1,241, which is $113 a month below Charlottetown and $90 below the provincial average, all three from the same survey, so it is a fair comparison. Buying is harder. Median asking is $409,000, and the only genuine sold data is province-wide at $410,000. Prince County Hospital is in town, the second largest acute care hospital in the province, 110 beds. There is no weather station in Summerside itself. The nearest, Charlottetown, sits at minus 7.74 in January. Now the catch, because there is always a catch. Over 34,000 islanders, roughly 1 in 5, sit on the provincial registry waiting for a family doctor. A hospital in town does not put a doctor in your file. Number 6. Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. So why is a town with a rising housing market on a pension list? Because the rise started from a low floor. The Provincial Association put the March benchmark above $292,000, up 8.6% in a year. Unlike the Sioux, this market is climbing, which means if Moose Jaw matters to you, it matters now rather than later. A 1-bedroom in Moose Jaw rents at $1,246. Property tax sits at 1.393%, low even by Prairie standards, although council approved an increased landing near 8% on residential. 33,000 people, about 21% of them seniors. Mac the Moose, 32 feet of steel and concrete, held the world's tallest moose title until Norway beat him in 2015. Moose Jaw fitted him with bigger antlers and took it back in 2019. I want to be careful here, because this is the kind of number that decides whether you move somewhere. A leaked provincial safety risk report recorded emergency waits at Dr. F.H. Wigmore Regional Hospital of 33 hours on one Sunday and 73 hours on a Tuesday, with the hospital over capacity and its risk rating escalated from high to very high. The provincial opposition warned Moose Jaw could lose up to 10 physicians by year end. The hospital is in town and open 24 hours. Whether it can see you is a different question. If you are getting value out of this countdown and have not subscribed yet, now would be a good time. We pull the real numbers on towns like these every week, and the next 5 entries are stronger than everything so far. Alright, back to the countdown. Number 5. Corner Brook, Newfoundland and Labrador. Corner Brook has the mildest January of any town east of the Rockies here, and a snow load that makes a joke of it, both at once. The daily mean is -6.14, warmer than anything else this far east, and 105.5 centimeters of snow falls in January alone. 19,000 people on Newfoundland's west coast, nearly 27% of them over 65. Straight to the number, a 2-bedroom rents for $949. St. John's charges $1,348 for the same unit, so Corner Brook runs $399 a month cheaper than the capital. Same survey, same month. Median asking to buy is $320,000 against a provincial average of $375. Property tax runs 0.8% of assessed value on a fully serviced property, plus $820 a year in water, sewer, and waste levies, before the rate even applies. Put that line in your budget column. Western Memorial Regional Hospital is in town, and the building is new, opened in June of 2024. Fair disclosure, and here it comes twice. Marble Mountain, 7 kilometers east, averages 5 meters of snow a year, and that new hospital opened with the same inpatient bed count as the old one. Patients were reported on stretchers in hallways within months, and the province kept the old building open for overflow. A new hospital is not a bigger hospital. Number 4. Miramichi, New Brunswick. This is the one I have been waiting to tell you about. $662 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. That number opened this video, and here is where it lives. I'll say that again for the people in the back. $662 a month from the National Housing Survey, the most conservative rent source in this script. The New Brunswick average 1-bedroom is $1,077, so Miramichi is the cheapest reported center in the province. So do the arithmetic out loud. Whatever your combined C, P, P, OAS, and GIS comes to, subtract 662, and the rest of that check is food, utilities, and everything else. Run the same subtraction at the provincial average, and you have handed away $415 a month for the same 1-bedroom. Over a year, $4,980. Asking prices for a house run from $330,000 to just over $400,000, depending on the source. 17,000 people in northeastern New Brunswick, median age 50, and 27.7% past 65. Horizon's Miramichi Regional Hospital is on Water Street. The Miramichi Folk Song Festival, founded in 1958, is the oldest folk festival in Canada. Now, the part the listings page will not tell you. Health Zone 7 has the worst hospital flow in New Brunswick, with an average wait from emergency admission to an inpatient bed of 31.4 hours against a provincial average of 16.6. And January averages -10.8, with 30.8 days out of 31 at or below freezing, essentially every day. Number 3. Medicine Hat, Alberta. The Sami's teepee stands beside the Trans-Canada Highway here, 215 feet of steel, the tallest in the world. That is the fun fact. Here is the real reason for number 3. The city owns its own utility, not a contract with a utility. The utility. Between January and June of last year, homeowners here paid an average of $1,237 in total utility costs. Across Lethbridge, Red Deer, Calgary, Edmonton, Grand Prairie, and Fort McMurray, the same 6 months averaged $1,925. That is $688 of difference in half a year, roughly $115 a month, permanently, for doing nothing except living here. Residents pay a minimum of 7 cents a kilowatt hour against roughly 12 cents on Calgary's default rate. So let us build the actual month. Home prices average anywhere from $327,000 to $400,000, depending on the report. A 2-bedroom rents for $1,207. Utilities run about $206 a month on that city average. Call it $1,413 a month for the roof over your head and the furnace running. Subtract that from your combined CPP, OAS, and GIS, and what is left is food and everything else. 63,000 people live here. Just over a fifth of them pass 65, up by 2,000 in 5 years. Medicine Hat Regional Hospital is in town with a 24-hour emergency department, intensive care, surgery, CT and MRI, and the Marjorie E. Ewell Cancer Center. I found no verified emergency closure or physician shortage for Medicine Hat itself in the last 2 years, which on this countdown is rare. 2,544 hours of sunshine a year make it the sunniest place in Canada, on a January averaging minus 8.5. The catch here comes with an expiry date. City staff told council that aging infrastructure needs an estimated $190 million for electric distribution upgrades alone, part of roughly $500 million over the next decade. And the rates swing. The natural gas default rate jumped 76% from May to June this year. The advantage is real today. Nobody has guaranteed it forever. If you have made it this far, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this reach people trying to work out where to retire without going broke. The last 2 towns are the reason I made this video. Alright, back to the countdown. Number 2, Trail, British Columbia. How does a town in British Columbia end up on a list about surviving on a pension check? Trail is the answer, and the full trauma hospital I teased at the top is the reason. 7,920 people in the West Kootenay, and 27.8% of them over 65. 3 bodies measure housing here, and none agree, so I will not average them into a fake number. BC Assessment, the government roll, puts the average assessed single-family home at $376,000, unchanged on the year. 2 listing services put median asking between $445,000 and $457,000. Call it under $450,000 for a house in Trail, and you are being honest. Now the rent, where this stops being a housing story and becomes a pension story. A 2-bedroom in Trail rents for $1,079. The British Columbia average is $2,053. Vancouver is $2,364. Same survey, all 3. So, a retiree in Trail keeps $1,285 a month that a retiree in Vancouver hands over. $15,420 a year of the same pension check, kept instead of spent. Then there is the hospital, which is the real argument. Kootenay Boundary Regional Hospital has 24-hour emergency and trauma, intensive care, surgery, psychiatry, and chemotherapy. It is the regional referral hospital for the whole area, and it is not on the province's rural emergency closure list. A town of under 8,000 with a full regional hospital that stays open is the strongest retirement argument here. Trail's smelter also secretly made heavy water for the Manhattan Project, concentrating deuterium to 99.8% purity under a 1942 contract codenamed P9. Now the honest part, and there is a lot of it, the smelter is still there. Tech Trail Operations employs about 1,800 people, and children in Trail have had their blood tested for lead for over 30 years. Last year's average was 2.3 micrograms per deciliter, with over 90% below the provincial threshold of 5. The program exists for a reason. There is also wildfire smoke, with an air quality warning over Trail. In effect this July naming people 65 and older as vulnerable. January sits around 0 at the nearest weather station, 25 kilometers away in Castlegar, which is unusual for the interior. But the snow runs 200.7 centimeters a year, so nobody should be calling the Kootenays a banana belt. Number 1. Elliot Lake, Ontario. Elliot Lake did not become a retirement town. It was built into one, deliberately, by people who had run out of options. In 1991, with the uranium mines closing and the town facing its own end, a non-profit was incorporated with one purpose. The government of Ontario handed it $7 million. $3.5 million of that bought half of Elliot Lake's entire housing stock from Denison Mines. Rio Algom donated the other half. The rest went on repairs and on advertising the town to retirees in southern Ontario. That was the last thing I promised you, and it worked. That organization, Elliot Lake Retirement Living, now owns and manages 1,375 rental units in a town of 11,000, which is why 39.9% of the people in Elliot Lake are over 65. 2 in 5. No other town on this countdown comes close. So here is the month. Elliot Lake Retirement. Living's posted rents start at $850 for a 1-bedroom and $925 for a 2, with the national survey putting the average 2-bedroom in town at $866. Take $850, subtract it from your combined CPP, OAS, and GIS, and everything that survives is food, utilities, heat, and everything else you want to do. That is the whole argument of this video in one line of arithmetic. Buying is cheaper still, and here I have to be careful with you. The median asking price for a house is $249,000, with listings starting at $85,000. Those are asking prices. No sold data exists publicly here, so nobody can tell you what these places actually sell for, including me. St. Joseph's General Hospital, Elliot Lake is in town. 58 beds, emergency open 24 hours, day surgery, radiology, intensive care, physiotherapy, and chemotherapy in a town that size. And now the two things that keep this from being a fairy tale, because both are serious. First, the tax. The residential rate is 2.672%, one of the highest in Ontario for any municipality over 10,000, against Greater Sudbury at 1.826. That cheap price gets partly clawed back every year you own it. Second, the fill. Uranium mine waste rock was used as fill under residential properties here. Homeowners went to federal court to force the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission to order its removal. They lost, and the appeal was denied. If you are looking at a specific address in Elliot Lake, that is the question you ask before you ask about the roof. January averages minus 10.9 here, with 259 centimeters of snow a year. Elliot Lake was assembled on purpose for people exactly like the ones watching this. That is why it is number 1, and why it deserves the hardest questions. None of these 10 towns are on a billboard, and none of them are about to become fashionable. What they have is a hospital with the lights on, a rent number a pension check can actually absorb, and a winter that tests you honestly instead of surprising you later. If this changed where you are looking, subscribe. We pull the real numbers on Canadian towns like these every single week, one province at a time. The right town for you is somewhere on this list. So is its catch. Take both.